Imagine waking up 10 years from now. You check your bank account. You look at your career. You look at your life. Then one scary thought hits you. You weren't outworked. You weren't less talented. You got distracted. One notification. One scroll. One interruption at a time. Meanwhile, someone else spent those same years mastering a skill most people can't hold for even 10 minutes. Focus. Today, we're breaking down deep work by Cal Newport and showing why it's such a game changer for getting stuff done. So let's get into it. Part 1. The focus crisis nobody is talking about. A few decades ago, being average was often enough. You learned a skill, got a stable job, worked hard, and built a comfortable life. Today, the game has changed. Technology has rewritten the rules. Every year, software gets smarter. Automation gets better. Artificial intelligence becomes more powerful. And companies can hire talent from anywhere in the world. The competition isn't just your coworkers anymore. It's the entire market. Now here's where things get interesting. Most people respond to this reality by trying to do more. More emails, more meetings, more multitasking, more hours. But Newport argues they're solving the wrong problem. The issue isn't that people aren't busy. The issue is that they're busy doing things that create very little value. Imagine an employee who spends 8 hours answering emails, attending meetings, and jumping between tasks. At the end of the day, they're exhausted. But what do they actually create? Now compare that to someone who spends 3 focused hours solving a difficult problem, creating a valuable product, or developing an important skill. Who creates more value? The answer is obvious. Yet most workplaces reward visible busyness over meaningful productivity. That's why Newport calls much of modern work shallow work. Activities that keep you occupied but don't significantly improve your skills or create major value. And here's the scary part. The world rewards deep work more than ever, but trains people to avoid it more than ever, which creates an opportunity. Because if most people are becoming more distracted, the ability to focus becomes increasingly rare, and rare skills become valuable skills. Part 2. The Great Economic Divide. According to Newport, technology is creating a massive divide. Not everyone benefits equally. Some people thrive, others struggle. Why? Because modern technology tends to reward 3 groups: the highly skilled, the superstars, and the owners. Let's break that down. Imagine 2 software developers. Both start at the same level. Both have similar intelligence. Both have access to the same internet. One spends years mastering advanced skills, learning difficult systems, practicing with complete focus. The other constantly gets distracted, schemes information, jumps from trend to trend, never develops deep expertise. 5 years later, they're living completely different lives. Not because one got lucky, because one became valuable. Technology amplifies value, and deep work helps create that value. Now think about superstars. A single world-class performer can now reach millions. A top creator, a top entrepreneur, a top designer, a top consultant. The internet allows the best performers to serve huge audiences, which means being great matters more than ever. But becoming great requires something most people avoid: long periods of focused practice. You can't become elite while constantly switching attention. You can't master difficult skills through endless distraction. And that's exactly why deep work becomes so important, because it gives you the ability to improve faster than the people around you. And in a competitive world, that advantage compounds over time. Part 3. Why winners keep winning. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Focus matters. But here's the deeper question. Why does focus create such a massive advantage? Newport explains that there are 2 abilities becoming increasingly important in the modern economy. First, the ability to quickly master hard things. Second, the ability to produce work at an elite level. Think about that for a second. Every successful person you admire likely excels at one or both. They learn difficult things quickly, and they create valuable results. The problem? Both abilities depend on concentration. Let's take a business example. Imagine a data analyst learning advanced forecasting techniques. The concepts are difficult. The software is complex. The learning curve is steep. Every interruption slows progress. Every distraction breaks concentration. Every task switch reduces learning quality. Now imagine another analyst who blocks out distractions and focuses deeply on mastering the same skill. Who learns faster? Who becomes more valuable? Who earns more opportunities? The answer isn't complicated. The focused person wins. This is why Newport argues that deep work isn't just another productivity technique. It's the foundation underneath high performance. Because learning hard things requires intense concentration. And producing high-quality work requires intense concentration. Without deep work, both become dramatically harder. And this creates a powerful realization. The people winning in today's economy aren't necessarily the smartest. They're often the people who can stay focused long enough to fully develop their abilities. And that brings us to one of the most fascinating parts of the book. What actually happens inside your brain when you focus? Because the science behind deep work is even more powerful than most people realize. Part 4. The science of deep work. So far, we've talked about why focus matters. Now let's talk about something even more interesting. Why does focus work? What is actually happening inside your brain when you sit down and concentrate on one difficult task? Most people think learning is simple. Read more, watch more videos, consume more information, and eventually you'll get better. But that's not how mastery works. Cal Newport points to research that reveals something surprising. The people who become exceptional don't just spend more time practicing. They practice differently. Researchers studying world-class performers noticed a pattern. Elite musicians, elite athletes, elite chess players, elite profesionals. They all use something called deliberate practice. Deliberate practice isn't casual practice. It's not repeating what you already know. It's not staying comfortable. It's focused effort aimed directly at improving a specific skill. Imagine someone learning public speaking. Most people might give presentations occasionally and hope they improve over time. But deliberate practice looks different. Maybe they focus only on eye contact, then only on storytelling, then only on vocal delivery. They're isolating weaknesses and attacking them with intense focus. And here's the key. Deliberate practice cannot exist alongside distraction. You can't improve a skill while your attention is split between 10 different things. That's why Newport argues that learning itself is an act of deep work. Every time you focus intensely on improving a skill, you're doing exactly what elite performers have done for decades. And this leads to an even deeper question. What exactly changes inside the brain during that process? The answer is fascinating. Part 5. Myelin, the secret behind mastery. Imagine your brain as a giant network of roads. Some roads are rough and slow. Others are smooth highways. The more you practice a skill with intense concentration, the stronger those pathways become. Newport discusses research popularized by Daniel Coyle in the Talent Code. Scientists discovered that our brains strengthen important neural circuits through a substance called myelin. Think of myelin like insulation around electrical wires. The thicker the insulation becomes, the faster and more efficiently signals travel. In simple terms, more focused practice, more myelin, stronger skill. Let's make this real. Imagine two students trying to learn coding. Student A studies for 2 hours, but checks social media every few minutes, replies to texts, switches tabs constantly. Student B studies for 1 focused hour. No notifications, no distractions, no interruptions. At first glance, student A appears to be working longer, but student B is strengthening the exact neural pathways needed to master coding. Over time, that difference becomes huge. Months later, student B often learns faster, builds projects faster, solves problems faster, not because they're naturally smarter, because they train their brain more effectively. This is one reason Newport pushes back against the myth of talent. Many people assume high performers were simply born different. But research shows that focused practice plays a massive role in developing expertise. And that's good news, because focus is trainable. You may not control your natural gifts, but you can control how deeply you work. And once you understand that, you'll start seeing distraction very differently. Because distraction isn't just stealing time. It's slowing down growth itself. Part 6. The hidden cost of distraction. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. Attention residue. At first, this concept sounds simple, but once you understand it, you'll never look at multitasking the same way again. Imagine you're writing an important report. You're fully focused. Then an email notification pops up. You check it. A minute later, you return to your report. Seems harmless, right? Not exactly. Research discussed by Newport found that when you switch from one task to another, part of your attention stays behind. A residue remains attached to the previous task. Even after you've moved on, your brain isn't fully present anymore. Part of it is still thinking about the email, the unfinished conversation, the message you need to reply to later, the problem you haven't solved yet. Now imagine doing this 20 or 30 times every day. Email, text, meeting, social media, notification, back to work, over and over again. Your attention becomes fragmented, and fragmented attention produces fragmented results. Here's a real-life example. Let's say you're studying for an important exam. You sit down for 3 hours. Sound productive, but every 10 minutes, you check your phone. By the end of the session, you've spent 3 hours studying. Yet your brain never spent 3 hours focused. You spent 3 hours constantly rebuilding concentration. That's the hidden cost. Most people think distraction only wastes the few seconds spent checking a notification. The bigger problem is the mental residue left behind afterward. And that's exactly why deep work feels so powerful. When you eliminate interruptions, your mind finally gets the chance to operate at full capacity. You stop restarting. You stop rebuilding focus. You stop fighting attention residue. And suddenly, your best thinking starts showing up. But here's where things get really interesting. Because deep work doesn't just help you learn faster. It helps you produce results at a level most people never reach. And the next story from the book proves exactly why. So here's the question. If focus is becoming rarer and more valuable every year, what happens to the people who master it? While everyone else is distracted, they're quietly building a life most people only dream about. And that journey starts with a single decision. Focus on what truly matters. If you got value from this summary, make sure to subscribe for more life-changing book insights and comment for part 2 of this summary. I'll see you in the next one.